Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Brew Roots, where we tell the stories behind your favorite beer. This is Sound Guy Ryan, and joining me as always is Erica and Matt.
What's up, everyone out there in Brew Roots land?
What's up?
Hello.
It sounds like we are in like a church or a cathedral right now.
Because we are.
I would say a cathedral of beer.
Yeah. Church
Yeah,
of beer.
we're not in
Church
the
of beer.
studio.
We're not in the studio, Small Pond Studio, but we are at one of our favorite breweries.
Notch.
Yeah.
Do-do-do.
And no, we are not at the new Brighton location, which I got to check out last week. You two were busy. Ryan, obviously, you were busy for a very good reason. Erica was playing soccer.
Yeah.
Soccer.
It's whatever.
Soccer.
How dare you?
I mean, Italy did just win the Euro, so you're on the team for next year,
exactly.
right?
That's the plan. That's why I had to play.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Congratulations to Notch. That location is beautiful. It was really, really fun. It's at the Charles River Speedway in Brighton, Massachusetts. I had a lot of fun. You can actually see the video that I shot on TikTok.
On our TikTok.
At Brew Roots. I had the Hefeweizen. I had the Firewalk with me, which is a Rausch beer, which is my favorite, I have to say. And I had great company. Chris Beer Fridge came with me because Ryan and Erica didn't want to. So I said, "Well, Chris, come with me."
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah! And it was a lot of fun. We ate so many dumplings after.
That's true. I did see that. Yeah.
It was awesome.
But we got a kick-ass episode this week with
do.
Dan and Pete from Stoneface Brewing.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that one. I was fortunate enough to go up to Stoneface before they even really had a tap room. It was just a tasting room. And I hadn't been back since. I had only had their beer in market, whether I was getting it at the city, Ryan's favorite, or various other liquor stores. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, their place was great. They have really good beer. They have food now. They're
Yep.
kind of continuing that, and it's awesome.
Yeah, cool location. The murals on the wall are great, and the beer's great. What did you guys drink this week? You already heard what I've been drinking. Notch.
My beer fridge.
Yeah, we have a lot. We
We have so
we
much
have a
beer.
lot of beer.
Erica gave us a mandate. She's like, I'm gonna throw away the beer, which she wasn't gonna do, but or you have to take it.
Very tempted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like
much.
I haven't been drinking as much. So it's like really sad that I have all this beer that I'm like trying not to drink.
But you're drinking.
Barely.
Like
I'm drinking
one a night.
Not even.
Wow.
Yeah, I only
Only
drink
7
like
on Saturdays.
one or-
Just
Right,
mix it up.
right.
Yeah, I only drink like 1 or 2 days out of the week. Yeah,
okay.
I've been behaving. I've been a good boy.
That's nice.
A good sound master, Ryan.
Yes, exactly.
Erica, what have you been drinking?
Jack's Abbey. Right. Sorry, I had to really think about that. My brain is just
You usually have to
fried
think
tonight.
about that.
Yeah, that lemongrass
True.
lager. Right?
Yeah, I'm still.
I
just
do like
crushing
that
it.
one.
Yeah, we went for a hike, and I brought a few of those with us, and it was solid. Hit
Yeah.
the spot. It was great.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to this episode because we actually are going to be doing a Pink Boots episode with a couple great women from Boston Pink Boots chapter.
Yeah.
And that episode is going to be released in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you want to find out about our upcoming episodes, what are some avenues that our amazing listeners and new listeners can find us about?
All of our social medias.
That's right. So we're on Brew Roots at everything. And if you want to support us a little bit more, patreon.com/Brew Roots podcast. And you can get some sweet brewery swag, maybe even a t-shirt. Ryan's rocking his t-shirt right now. I am not wearing a t-shirt at all.
Yeah, because that's how Matt rolls.
Yeah, no t-shirt, no rules. No, but seriously, go support us because we can continue to get amazing episodes, and we have an awesome one lined up for you next week. So find out who that is on the outro, and we will catch you then. Take it away, Sound Guy Ryan! Cheers. It's been a while since I've actually come to this brewery because before I came here, I think it was just pours only when I first started coming a couple of years ago.
Was it all the way down the other side?
Yeah, it was all the way down on the other side. And I always seem to grab your beer every couple of months, and I'm never disappointed. I always say, like, why don't I get this more often, right? Like, it's a perennial favorite for me to get some Stoneface Brewing beer. So, yeah. I spoiled it for our listeners.
Yes,
that's where we are.
That's where we are. Yep.
We're at Stoneface. It's Newington, right?
Newington, yeah.
Newington. A lot of people, I'll go to Portsmouth. It's not Portsmouth. It's Newington.
Same zip code.
It is,
Oh,
really.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, weird. It's
Huh.
weird. but
Are you
yeah.
a village of Portsmouth then?
I suppose. because it is Newington Village, so it must have been. I don't think that there's a post office in Newington, so you have to
gotcha.
go to Portsmouth. to
But there's a mall in Newington.
There is a mall.
This is so. There's no mall in Portsmouth. I'm so confused.
All right.
That's about all there is in Newington.
Yeah.
And you guys.
So I'm excited to talk with you guys. But before we get into what's going on at Stoneface, what's your first memory of beer and the role you have at the brewery?
You want to go first?
You can go.
You can rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, right.
I'm interested to hear this. This is a good question. What's your first memory of beer?
First memory of beer. I mean, growing up, my dad always had a kegerator as long as I can remember. And he always had like Bass or Guinness in there. And I remember him making like my older brothers drink the foam off the top of his beer at like parties and stuff.
Nice.
So that's probably my first memory.
It's really funny you said that now. That must have been like a tucked away memory for me, but I remember begging my dad to drink the foam at the top of the beer. I don't know why. That's a weird thing.
Yeah, come to find out, that's not the best part of the beer.
No. It's like ice cream.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sorry, your role at the brewery?
Oh, yeah. Lead brewer.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm Pete. I'm a co-founder at Stoneface, and I suppose my earliest memory was non-alcoholic. Actually, that might not be right. It's probably stealing beer from my buddy's father's fridge and going out camping when we were probably
Solid.
15 years
Nice.
old. And I might have had 2 beers between the 3 of us.
Right.
And it wasn't very good. I remember that. I don't think we were that old. But as far as like what sticks out to me the most, the first sort of sip of that flavor would have been a non-alc beer that my dad's friend had. They were drinking beers one day, and I have this one. It's an Old Duels, and I took like 2 sips of that, and that was it.
Nice. You're sold.
It was bad. I mean, it still does. I still remember that flavor, and whenever I try a
Nice.
non-alc beer, it's like, oh, that's not great. But that's probably the first memory.
Mm-hmm. How many years has Stoneface been in existence?
So we took delivery on our equipment the day after Thanksgiving in 2013. And then we sold our first kegs of beer in the market the following February. So it would have been 2014. So what's that? 6-7 years almost.
Yeah.
It's just seven years this past year. Yeah.
Do you remember who bought your first kegs?
Yeah, it was the Gaslight,
Ooh.
downtown Portsmouth.
That's a great question.
Nice.
That's a good place
That's
too.
great.
Yeah.
They had the Winter Brew Fest there that they usually have. I don't think they had it this year because of COVID, but
Right.
they bought the first kegs. We were friends with the bar manager there for a long time, and he was excited to pour it for that event. So,
Do you remember what beer it was? Was it like an IPA?
well, the original beer that we tried to make was old homebrew recipe that we had for an IPA that tasted great, but when we did the first brews on the brew kit, we didn't hit our temperatures because there was a miscalibration.
It was your first time,
It was the first
right?
time,
Yeah.
right. And we missed the temperatures, but it came out fine. It just wasn't an IPA. It was more of a pale ale, so we call it a pale ale.
Yeah.
And then the second,
How the roles have reversed. Everyone would have called it an IPA today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably an IPA, on the edge. It was just the
Yeah.
alcohol wasn't high enough.
Yeah. Cool.
I always find it interesting when you first opened, right, 7 years ago, or got equipment delivered. It was what, Red Hook, it was Muddy Nose and P-Brew.
Yeah, locally.
Yeah.
There was.
And Red Hook's not even here anymore. Right?
Yeah. So right now there's about 100 breweries or 90 breweries in New Hampshire, with 10 more in planning, something like that.
Nice.
And then I think when we opened, we might have been somewhere in the 25 to 30th brewery in the state. But locally, there weren't too many of us. But at that moment, it seemed like that was the start of kind of when everybody got interested and started getting into brewing.
Definitely.
Breweries.
And sounds like you were a home brewer before this?
Yeah, I started homebrewing in college at UNH, and
That's before they had the program, the home brewing
Oh, yeah,
class and all that
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
yeah, I was working at a restaurant in Portsmouth, and downtown there used to be a homebrew shop right across the street from Portsmouth Brewery called Stout Billy's. It's no longer around, but I happened to just roll in there one day because I was interested in beer at that time, and bought a kit, brought it home, tried it out, came out pretty good. The next 2 batches sucked, and I kind of put it on the back burner for a little while. And this was like summer before my senior year at UNH. We finished school, got a regular job, I guess, and had enough money to start kind of building a real sort of homebrew kit. And 14 years later, we started this.
Wow.
Nice. That's a long time of homebrewing. Yeah.
A lot of beer.
Yeah.
So did you work professionally before you owned Stoneface in a brewery? Or
Not in the industry.
Wow.
So I was in software for years, and sitting in a cube, and that got old.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was sort of the next logical step for us. I mean, we kind of had this bug to start this business, like this entrepreneurial bug, and there was a number of things that just kind of happened to line up. The stars sort of aligned. We had some people that were interested in investing. We had a pretty good business plan. The last thing we needed was, a brand identity. And so, Stoneface is the old man of the mountain, his nickname, right?
Yeah.
So we eventually landed on that. We got permission from Stone to use it.
I was going to ask. I was going to say, like, did Stone try to sue you? Yeah.
Fortunately, they didn't. But the story is funny because we came up with the name and it felt real good. And I can remember originally glossing over the name Stoneface because it was going to conflict with Stone, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, forget it. We'll just come up with something else. And we probably, thought about that for months and months and months. And eventually one of our friends, and when I say my business partner, Errol, he's the other founder that started this with us. We had another friend, a neighbor, who said, why don't you just go with Stoneface, And I was like, all right, well, I guess we can try. And so we got through to Stone by working with Dave Yarrington at Smutty Nose, because we knew him.
Yeah.
And we knew that he knew Mitch Steele, who happened to be the head brewer at Stone at the time, who used to be at Anheuser-Busch and Merrimack. Yep. So he was a known entity in New Hampshire. Dave knew him. So I called Dave. I said, hey, can you get me in touch with Mitch, who can get me in touch with Greg Cook, who is the owner of Stone?
Yeah.
And so I was swapping emails with him, which is kind of cool because it's like he's as big as it gets in beer world, and I was just a home brewer, so it was really cool to swap emails with him.
What temperature do you brew it? No, I'm just
Yeah.
By the way, I want to use your name.
Yeah. So I said, hey, what if we do this? And he's like, well, as long as you, smash the 2 words together, don't separate them out, don't make it, look like Stone, and then with big letters and then face underneath or whatever.
Yep.
So we were okay with that. We've been friends with Greg ever since. We see him, once a year at CBC usually.
Nice.
Hang out.
Nice.
So he's a great guy.
Yeah.
So fortunately we got permission. We didn't get sued.
Yeah.
Or cease and desist or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, great job.
That's good because I don't know if that would have happened in 2020, but I'm glad. I'm glad it happened for you guys. Dan, I'm curious, where'd you cut your teeth? What was the original plan for you?
So just like Pete, like home brewing, closer to the mic. So moving back home from college, I lived in the middle of nowhere, Maine. So it was like about an hour drive or so to Portland. And that's just too far for a broke kid to go buy beer and spend a bunch of money. So I ended up just buying a homebrew kit, real bare bones kettle, like a igloo cooler for a mash tun.
Yep.
And just made a lot of really, really bad beer and learned a lot from it. With the internet being what it was when I started, it was such a huge resource that, it just was like a deep dive into just an endless pool of knowledge and other people's experiences, which is, I think the greatest part about the internet. Like you can not do anything but still learn so much from other people's mistakes. But then this was actually one of the first interviews I had once I wanted to quit my job at the hotel I was working at. And I talked to Errol for a good hour about hops for my interview and got the job the next day. And I was just pouring tasting room beer. It was like supposed to be the job. And then within a couple weeks, they were just asking me to package beer. And then that's like kind of right when Stoneface was like really taking off, like new tanks coming in. And, we had 2 other hires around that time. One of them is still with us, Barclay. The other one's Woody, who now works at Tributary.
Cool.
Shout out to Woody and Tributary.
Shout out.
Yep.
And then it just grew from there. These guys put up with me for 5 or 6 years now, and so this is my only industry job.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they definitely let me grow and mess
Awesome.
up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't yell too much.
It's always awesome to hear that dream of, home brewer to pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's one word of advice to make someone's home brew a little bit better? What is something that you wish you knew when you were home brewing?
Temperature control.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
it is. I mean, fermentation, temperature control is it's 3 words, I guess. But that's what improved my homebrew. As soon as we got, our dedicated refrigerator to hold the beer in when it was fermenting,
Yeah.
that's when it kind of all clicked for us.
Yeah, just make mistakes and learn from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
Like,
be
not-
scared from it.
Yeah, you're not gonna learn the boundaries unless you try and push them and then pivot and adjust.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Cool.
you take notes?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So before we get into what beers you're serving here and what was kind of the beer that made the name for you guys, we have a word from our sponsors. So take it away, sound guy, Ryan.
Did you know that your favorite Massachusetts breweries use hops from a local family-owned hop farm right here in Massachusetts?
Our friends over at 4-Star Farms are there for you whether you're a commercial brewery or a small batch home brewer.
Make sure to head over to their website today and get your hands on some of the best and freshest hops available locally. Cheers.
At our local homebrew shop, Beer and Wine Hobby, you can get everything you need to make beer, wine, cider, cheese, and more. Not sure where to start? They have knowledgeable staff there to help. Beer and Wine Hobby is family owned and located in Danvers, Massachusetts. Visit their website, beer-wine.com, and use our promo code Brew Roots for 10% off your online order today.
Shirts on Tap is the box subscription service for craft beer lovers. Each month, Shirts on Tap partners up with 7 different breweries from across the country and collaborates on a sweet custom shirt design. We've been teamed up with Shirts on Tap since the inception of the podcast and are proud to announce a new promo code for all of our listeners. To get your first shirt for $5 off, go to the link in our description below and use the promo code. And remember, drink better beer, wear better shirts.
And we're back. All right. So everything's going well. You guys started, but what was kind of the beers that you first started with, and what kind of helped make a name for you guys?
I mean, Stoneface IPA is kind of
Obvious,
definitely
yep.
the one. What we tried to do with that was, we had sort of like wheelhouse beers that we always used to like to drink back in those days. So, it was like Union Jack from Firestone Walker and Lagunitas IPA and, Heady Topper and, Treehouse was just coming out. So there was a lot of different IPAs that were, kind of on the dartboard, so to speak. And we wanted to find a beer that had some sweetness, had a lot of hop aroma, obviously, but wasn't, the New England IPA really wasn't quite a thing in those days. It was just sort of starting to become a thing.
The IBU craze.
Yeah, it was more. but we knew we didn't, and so the IBU craze was kind of in full swing, and we were like, we don't really want that bitterness. We want to find an approachable IPA so that people that don't necessarily like IPA, if they try this, there's a shot that they're going to like it, right? Because it's a little sweeter. It's not quite as bitter, but it's not a hazy juice bomb like a lot of the New England IPAs are. And we know, that's part of that. Part of that is because we distribute quite a bit of beer, so it needs to hold up a little bit more than some of those haze bombs do in the market. So that's kind of where we landed with IPA, and so that's about 80% of our production. We send most of it. Most of it gets consumed in New Hampshire, so grocery stores and bars and restaurants. Some of it goes to Maine, some of it goes to Massachusetts, and then the balance in distribution is usually beers like Full Clip, which is more of a traditional New England IPA. some Berliner Weiss, and a few other one-offs that we'll send out. Yeah, but that's definitely the monster for our brewery anyway, for volume wise.
And you brew all that here as well?
Yeah, everything gets brewed here.
Nice.
We do about 12 to 13,000 barrels a year. This is what our clip is right now. So yeah.
I will also throw in the Russian Imperial Stout as being one of the ones that we were known for when I first started.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That one was just we just did that here as a release. Out of the old tasting room back in the day. That was well received as well. That's for sure. We like that beer.
Yeah.
With having a main flagship that brews 80% of your profits or whatever, right? It's 80% of what you put out. Does that allow you to get a little bit experimental and do some cool stuff, or is it something that you want to keep to the core brands?
We definitely made some changes since it first was brewed. It's been a long time since we've been open, and it's obviously just evolved. Never any super big changes or anything. We, obviously want to keep it very similar to what it was, still drinkable, still pretty restrained, hop sort of flavor and aroma, but. We bought a 3-barrel pilot system 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Something like that. So in the midst of just us, busting out and just ripping IPA in full clip the majority of the week, everyone in the company honestly has any beer idea. They can make whatever they want. And,
cool.
They bring it to the brewers, and then we kind of, manipulate it and try and make it work. And then, that's our playground for experimentation.
Yeah.
And then stuff we learn off of that we'll kind of incorporate into the smaller size batches. So we have a 15-barrel kit, and we'll do either 15-barrel batches for the tasting room, or we'll half batch it and do 7-barrel batches.
Yep.
And we kind of again we use a lot of that what we learned and combinations and kind of step them up and just kind of try and get something new out as much as possible. Especially in the summer, it's really hard. We definitely fall victim to running a lot of beer through a smaller kit and just cranking 4 turns a day. So
yeah,
it's not all fun and games.
Yeah,
that's a lot of brewing.
There's a lot of grinding that happens. That's for sure. But you said, 80% of our beer, 80% of our revenue or whatever, that definitely does help us afford, to make expensive mistakes and experiment, but also, we've got 4 fooders down there. We've got a big barrel program for sour beers that are all, for lack of a better word, more fun experiments than they are, revenue generators.
Yeah.
So, it's one of the things that's great about this industry is that, we already have a very significant level of curiosity around the stuff that we make and the discovery of something new when something comes out great, because it's brewing's funny because it's not like cooking where you're making something and you can taste it and adjust it as you go and then put it on the table, what I mean?
Right.
It's got to be it's kind of like sometimes there's happy accidents. Anything you ferment, and Dan is he ferments everything, right? And sourdough, what else? Kombucha, all this stuff that you like to experiment with, and sometimes it comes out great, and that's when you can, you try and look back and say, how do we do that?
Yeah, it's hard to reproduce. Yeah.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It all depends on what happens. Sometimes it has to do with the ingredients that you get. Sometimes it has to do with a lot of hops that you get. Sometimes it has to do with the barrel you got. You know what I mean? or the bugs that you
just so happen to accidentally get in there.
Yeah, and that's the most fun. You know what I mean? That's the part, discovering this stuff and being curious about it and learning. And like Dan said, learning from other people's mistakes, that takes you so far. And then you got to do it yourself. And having sort of that IPA foundation helps us to be able to go and do these other things that aren't going to make or break our business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when you have, let's say, a bad mistake, is there anything that you can do to fix it? Or is it more just this isn't what we're looking for and you just dump it?
Usually we don't want to mess around and we will just dump it. Yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to nail it, and as long as we learn something, we'd rather just dump it instead of try and like fool anyone.
It's not a ton of volume, and we send it to a wastewater treatment plant up in Rochester that actually needs that stuff anyway. They've got a huge wastewater treatment plant up there, and they need some of that effluent because there isn't as much industry in Rochester anymore. So they take that beer
Gladly, yeah.
and it helps their process. Yeah.
Perfect. Never knew that.
With so many brewers around, so many beers coming out, people know you for Stoneface IPA and Full Clip, right? But what is the beers that people might be surprised that you guys sell at the tap room and that they haven't heard of?
I'd say most of the sour beers. Yeah, all the barrel aged and foeder sour beers, like just
talk about them.
They're great. Yeah. I mean, I'll let you go there. You're babies, man.
Yeah. So it's been a long process. Like all those beers, the turnaround time is anywhere from a year to like 18, 20 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had them for I think we got the first foeder 3 or 4 years ago.
Nice.
My timeline's not great, so don't fact check me. But yeah, it takes a lot of time and effort and wort allocation and trying to fit it into an otherwise like very busy brewery, trying to produce the needs of a business. But yeah, it's just I feel like now it's really starting to take off. We've kind of honed in our culture and how it performs, where it should land, timeline, and all that. And we've started and kind of launched a couple new brands, the Elixir series, which is kind of like a blend of like fruit and herbs, and then a Repose series, which is more like tea oriented and tea ingredients, whether it's herbal or actual tea, and then just a lot of fruited and then different barrel types. We have 4 fooders, like Pete was saying. Excuse me. And so we basically have like every color base to go along, just to suit our needs. So we have a golden sour foeder, a red sour foeder, a brown, and a dark sour foeder. 15 barrels, 18, 20 hectoliter, and then a 7-barrel one, all respectively. And then, so we can match those with like barrel types. So, we're doing like bourbon and port for some darker ones, and browns like rum, and just kind of mixing and matching, and then fruits to match too. So we actually have a black currant sour brown that should be out some point soon, depending on when we can get labels in. So it's been fun. Just we have too much. I actually say too much beer.
Wow.
To figure out what to do with. That's not entirely true. A lot of ideas, a lot of fun stuff just starting to come to surface now.
Cool.
So, like I said, it's been years.
Some of the elixirs are like ginger pineapple, which is awesome. There's lime, and what's the other one? What's in the lime one?
Yeah, we did a cucumber lime one that we
good for the
used
summer.
a bunch.
Yeah.
Like,
Refreshing.
And so like the wood, you're talking about like the different wood colors. Is that just to help the color of the beer, or does that play any kind of different role in the beer?
We're basically just matching like intensities.
Okay.
So like a darker,
Gotcha.
like a dark base, but kind of hold up better with like a bourbon or a port.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just like a clean barrel aged beer, like a stout.
Gotcha.
Think like bourbon barrel or something.
Yep.
And then like the lighter colors, we did I guess it hasn't come out yet, but we did a sour red in the Tomcat gin barrels. That came out really, really nice.
Cool.
Nice.
And
That's
then
cool.
like some like lighter wine type barrels for like the lighter golden sour.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's cool.
And then like those are like the rules, I guess you could say, but we'll probably break those. It's like it's a long thing, so we're trying to like establish, like core types of barrels to match.
Before you start
and then,
messing around too much. Yeah.
There's like anything, like you got to know the rules before you break them.
Right.
And then we'll dump more beer.
It'll be like 6 more months or so for the first Cool Ship beer we did.
Ooh,
Yeah,
cool
probably
shit.
at least, yeah.
And this was like a real like cool ship that you guys have here?
Yeah, we wheeled the Cool Ship out in the parking lot one night.
Nice.
One night.
That's awesome.
Turning into little weathermen,
Yeah.
which
Right.
is very difficult.
Yeah.
Do you have a house culture, or how did you guys get your like yeast strain? Or
Yeah, so initially we just started buying from Nick at the East Bay, who's just been phenomenal. We actually use a lot of his brewer's yeast too for a lot of the pilot batch stuff. And I think we use East Coast yeast for the base for the darker fooders. And then I've just grown up bottle dregs of, Cantillon, 3F, and a bunch of other stuff, and just the fooders to kind of give it a little extra oomph, so to speak.
Yep.
I feel like that's a lot of dregs.
It is, and then we just feed it and grow it.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
over
yeah.
time, it'll hopefully do more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of other stuff in there too.
Right. That's cool.
So you mentioned beers that take 18 months, 24 months, however long. Another beer that takes a long time is lagers. Are you guys doing any lagers, any pilsners?
We are. We have like I don't know what's it called, like the friendship series. I don't know, Layla would know better what she wants to call it. But yeah, we did a Vienna lager called Pal. We're doing a corn lager called Deuterino.
That's such a good name.
And some other ones that we'll probably establish, once we get in the colder months, we'll have some we'll probably redo Doppelbock and some other fun stuff like that.
Just
but
easier to brew those in the colder weather, less energy used, I guess.
just to match the season.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll
Cool.
do Baltic Porter probably too.
Yeah.
The
we're
other
trying
thing
to.
is tank space, right? I mean,
Yeah,
during
that's
the
what I was getting at,
summertime,
yeah.
during the summertime, there's a lot of demand for IPA, so it's hard to tie up a tank for 6 weeks with a lager. when you
Yeah.
can turn an IPA in a couple,
Right.
trade-offs.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
We see a lot of breweries going in the direction, though, of brewing more lagers. Is that industry-driven or is that consumer-driven?
Also, like low ABV.
Low ABV, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's brewer-driven, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that the
breweries
brewers
want it,
are
yeah.
probably, for us, a lot of times it's like, do you want a 7% IPA in the middle of the afternoon? Probably not. It's
You were going to say yes.
Yeah, right.
Definitely not.
like on a Tuesday afternoon, I guess.
Yeah.
I think
But
that's
on a Wednesday, it's okay.
I think that's a big part of it, but I don't know. These trends kind of come and go. It's interesting because, there was, if you can count on probably two hands the various types of beers that you've seen over the past 2 or 3 years that kind of come and go, right? Like brewed IPA or
Milkshake's IPA is still hanging on.
Yeah,
a
lot of those.
I hate it.
it's interesting, and they kind of all. It seems like they all kind of come together, and that's the thing for a while, and then something else pops up. So.
I mean, we live in a world where there are so many styles.
Yeah.
And I think I speak for everyone in the brewery that we all want to drink all of them.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
So it's just about a matter of figuring out time on the brew kit to get it in and
Yeah.
slide it right in there. But it's tough. There's so much to brew in so little time.
Is there anything that you won't brew? Kind of along that vein?
And we won't brew. Yeah.
Brown ale.
Yeah.
Why is that? Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just a joke.
Oh, okay.
That's a
I was
joke.
gonna say, that seems so random. A brown ale.
Pumpkin. We
Okay.
will not ever brew a pumpkin beer.
Thank you.
Just because
Thank
it's just
you.
a pain, or you just over the hype?
Just think that there's enough pumpkin in the world. There's enough pumpkin spice in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the
Can't
reality
disagree.
is, and the reality is, there's no pumpkin in that beer. It's just,
It's either
Yeah.
squash or, it's spice, yeah.
yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's over. I'm over it.
Okay, done.
All right.
Easy enough.
I'm curious to find out what you're into then. And you'll find out on the other end of our sponsor bump. So take it away, Sound Guy Ryan.
Are you a solo artist, band, podcaster, or anyone else who needs recording services?
Well, we got a place for you where your vision can become a reality.
Welcome to Small Pond Studios, built by hand with heart and sweat equity by musicians for musicians.
Go to smallpondstudios.io to reach out to get more information. And make sure you let them know that Brew Roots sent you. Hey, Sound Guy Ryan here. Didn't know if you heard, but we're a part of the Hopped Up Network. There you'll find other informative podcasts about beer. So go ahead, follow them on social media, and visit them on their website, hoppedupnetwork.com, to learn more about the people, beer, and breweries from around the country. And until next time, thanks for listening. Cheers.
All right, so we're back. We know that Stoneface will never brew a pumpkin beer.
No.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. But it also is like 80 degrees outside. But you catch me in like October, I might be like,
I'll have one.
I'll have one. I'm sorry, guys. You can judge me. It's
I
fine.
know, no judgment at
Yeah.
all. It's,
Whatever you want.
yeah, drink what you want.
I
I'm curious, what are you drinking at home though? And do you bring any of those beers that you're drinking at home into the brewery and be like, yeah, I want to brew something that's similar to this? Not exactly, but similar. Or how do you get your brewing inspiration?
Oh, it's on me. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big sour and barrel aged guy, so we got family in Chicago because of my wife, and we have her family get us a side project. That's her sister lives in St. Louis, so she gets a side project, and keeping together. Avery Swanson in Chicago now at a Half Acre, so yeah, we kind of have her family doing beer runs for us.
Nice.
But in like our immediate area, Oxbow, Allagash, of course, just phenomenal beers. I think I went to Oxbow less than a year ago, and they had something like 20 or some odd different, unique bottles in their cooler, which was just staggering. Yeah, getting out of there without spending hundreds of dollars.
Right.
There. But yeah, I mean, really anything. Like if it sounds cool, I don't know. I drink a lot less IPAs. I'll just drink what we have here. Sadly, I don't get out much though.
I've got a keg of that Vienna lager at home that we did, which is not holding up as long as I thought it might because it's delicious. But yeah, it's great because we've been doing like, I don't know, it depends, like 2 or 3 releases a week of mostly IPAs that are new. And so I'll grab those and take those home for the weekend.
Yep.
For the most part. I'm trying to think if, from an inspiration perspective, it's always fun to do these kinds of things because it kind of recharges the batteries a little bit. And you kind of, when you're inside the walls here, sometimes it can feel like, it doesn't feel like it used to when we first started, where it was like a lot of, everybody was kind of in the same bubble. It was kind of like, big fans, lots of excitement. And the longer you're kind of in it, the novelty starts to wear off a little bit. Not to say that that's, it's just normal, right? It's a natural thing. So, a lot of times we got to go find experiences like that will recharge those batteries that are a little bit more absurd than they used to be. You know what I mean? Like going downtown to visit P Brew is still a lot of fun, or going down to Liar's Bench or Earth Eagle in Portsmouth. We got a lot of great breweries locally.
Yeah, you do.
And it's always good to see those guys and hang out. But, before we started the brewery, you go to Smutty Nose and it was like, oh my God, all these people, this is great, blah, 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 And now it's like, well, now we got to go further from home. I mean, we got to see, more and more stuff. And probably the last most inspirational trip we did was Errol and I went to Australia a couple of years ago to Hop Harvest. Yeah.
Cool.
We went down with a bunch of other brewers, guys from Treehouse, Parrish, Topa Topa in California. Parrish is in Louisiana. Yeah. It's a brewer from I think Serbia or Bos. I'm not quite sure where the Europeans were from, but that was probably and I still kind of live off that energy right now. Even if it was even though it was 2 years ago, it was still an incredible experience being that far away from home and seeing where some of our hops get grown.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that it's getting to the point where you got to kind of go on those trips to seek out that inspiration at this point. CBC is the Craft Brewers Association conference is another good one that's in Denver this year. We went to Denver a couple of years ago before COVID, all of us. So, those things are definitely inspiring. That's for sure.
Do you find that festivals are helpful at all for not necessarily inspiration, I guess, but kind of feeding off of people coming and trying your beer and getting ideas from that or anything like that?
It's never it never gets old when you get a compliment from a customer. Yeah. It's never gets old. It's it's such a good feeling. On the other hand, probably the most fun at festivals is hanging out with the other brewers and the other folks that that we know in the industry. Yeah. Probably just as equally as as exciting it is to hang out with the folks that come and attend the Brew Fest. Being able to see old friends is always awesome, especially when we're so busy we don't get to get out much. Right. It's nice to at least go to an event that's work and see those guys.
Cool. Correct me if I'm wrong, and my memory is not as good. You guys don't do a ton of collaborations, but you did one with Tributary with Woody a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 or 4. I don't know.
But you were talking about community. Do you guys do a lot of collabs? I mean, I just don't see a lot of them, maybe, but
We haven't in the past. Do you want to take this?
I mean, we just did one with Widowmaker.
Yep.
Yes.
Those guys.
We've done a few interesting ones. I mean, it's not that we're against collaborations. It's just that it takes some planning and
Yeah.
it's time consuming, and it'd be great to do more collaborations. It needs to be a higher priority, I suppose,
Yeah.
internally than it is.
It has to be
right
like a conscious thing to be like, all right, we're doing collabs
Yeah.
now.
well, no, it's funny. You see a lot of breweries. I mean,
Especially during COVID, I feel like that was almost like a thing.
yeah,
Like,
people were doing
everyone's
collabs all the
yeah.
time. Yeah, so I mean, it's not anything against you guys, or it's cool.
Yeah.
The interactive ones that people were doing, I thought were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over Skype.
Yeah,
Can't make it, but we'll talk on the phone.
Yeah. It'll
yeah,
be
you
cool.
should do that. Yeah,
It is always a blast to do them, though. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We always enjoy everybody's company when they come, and if we get to go to their breweries or whatever, it's awesome.
yeah.
We definitely have 3 more coming up this summer.
Nice.
Stay tuned for more.
Yeah.
So, for people who've never been to Stoneface, I want to know, like, what are some of the things that people can look forward to coming here? Food trucks. You guys serve food on premise. Dog friendly, kid friendly. What's the deal?
So we do have a full kitchen. We can't have dogs inside because it's an open kitchen and it's just not it's not allowed. Well, it depends on what community you live in New Hampshire, whether or not you can have a dog. But kids are welcome. We have a pretty comfortable space, I think, for families and folks to hang out. We don't generally have food trucks because we do have a kitchen.
Yeah.
Yep, but there's always usually 12 beers on draft, a few more in the cooler for bottle and can service. It's approachable, reasonable menu from a price perspective. So, good spot to come.
Excellent. I was just asking if Ryan got any questions.
Oh, yeah. I want to learn what you guys want to learn more about.
It's always a good one, Ryan.
I want to know how to meet deadlines.
Me too. Me too, dude. If you find out, let's hang out and discuss.
Right.
Give me the answer.
Deadlines for biological processes? Is that what you're saying? Like the things that just don't,
I'll take my answer off the air.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's, good.
No, you go. I don't know.
I mean, it's
That was a great answer. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's the same.
that was it. That was easy.
Mostly serious.
I mean, I go on these tangents. I'll like spend a week or two just kind of going down rat holes if it has to do with, a lot of times it has to do with hops, and a lot of times it has to do with yeast, which are the 2 things that I'm most interested in brewing. So I'd say probably at this point in time, probably yeast, because that's the thing that probably holds us up the most, is getting, like Dan said, meeting deadlines. Well, meeting deadlines could mean like getting a beer to finish before a release date, for example.
Yeah.
But that's really it's a fool's errand because it's a biological process. You just have to let it go.
Ouch.
Do better.
You're fired.
No, it's not. I mean, it's a biological process. What are you supposed to do? You can't make it go faster, right?
Sadly true.
Without cutting corners or whatever.
Yeah. So kind of going along that vein too, do you guys have like a favorite, or what do you think is, I guess, the most important thing in beer making? Is it the yeast? Is it the water? Hops, malt?
I think it's
The people.
I think it
Exactly. Yeah.
depends on the style, but yeah, I
Okay.
would say yeast for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just like high quality ingredients like across the board.
Yep.
Yeah. Can't make a beer off, old or stale ingredients. Can't do
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get local ingredients at all, or?
Very, very infrequently, because the volumes that we do are, there's no way that
Yeah.
local growers could keep up with that level. I mean, obviously there's a grain belt for a reason in the United States.
Right.
But we've done some local hops
Cool.
for different styles of beer. A lot of the stuff that's grown locally from a hop perspective isn't quite suitable for that juicy sort of New England IPA style.
Right.
But it's great for bittering charges, for example, or other styles of beers that aren't like intensely hoppy, for example.
Cool.
Anything that frustrates you in the beer industry?
Plenty. Did I say pumpkin ale?
Yeah.
right.
I thought I heard someone say deadlines earlier. Consistency, I would say. It's never ever moving target for sure. I feel like we've done a lot better the last few years. Anytime you're scaling up a beer from 3 barrels to 60 barrels, it's a lot of.
It's a big difference.
A lot of change. A lot of weird tweaks you gotta kind of figure out along the way. But yeah, I don't know. It's honestly maybe just frustrating trying to learn so much because there's a never ending amount of stuff to know.
Yeah, the more you know, the stupider you feel.
Oh my
Like,
God.
it's just like,
Right.
you know what I mean? There's always something new to learn, and anybody that says they got all the answers is
They're lying.
completely wrong.
For one style, and then
Yeah.
there's how many styles. So
Right.
there's always something, and whatever. Like the next, like what Tom Brady's like, he's asked like, what's your favorite rating? Oh, the next one. It's like, what do you want? What do you want to learn next? Well, what are we making tomorrow? Learn about that.
Yeah.
That's a good attitude to have. Yeah.
I think consistency, though, is one of those things that's it's so hard because we don't blend beers. It's not like we're making Bud Light where there's a panel that says, okay, let's blend this much of this tank and this much of that tank, and now we got Bud Light when it's consistent or whatever all the way around the world, which is an incredible feat in and of itself, regardless of how you feel about Anheuser-Busch.
Right.
But trying to do that on a small scale, week to week, year to year, different hop lots, different grain lots, different water sources, different fermentation profiles. A lot of breweries do get a reputation for being inconsistent or being very consistent, depending, and a lot of it boils down to luck or what you get from a raw ingredient perspective.
Yeah.
But like Dan said, I think we've really focused on that quite a bit. IPA is super consistent everywhere I get it. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
If you were to describe the New Hampshire beer scene, what did you say, 90 to 100 breweries? What would you describe it as?
It's a playground. It's vibrant. It's crazy. Like there's so many breweries popping up. The thing that's interesting is that like we're I think from a volume perspective, we might be number 2 behind Smutty Nose, which is funny because Smutty Nose can make 5 times more beer than we can. So there's a lot of there's a big difference,
gap between 1 and 2.
Yeah, between 1 and 2, and then between
2 and 10.
2 and 10,
Yeah.
and then another big gap. So the cool thing is that there's a lot of really small breweries that are popping up and doing really cool stuff. And the fact that New Hampshire isn't very big, and you can go and visit. I mean, you drive from here to Concord, you can visit 10 breweries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's incredible. And everywhere you go, if you go point at north, point at south, point at east, point at west, there's breweries everywhere within a 2-hour drive of each other, which is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, there's still work to be done. There isn't a brewery in every single town.
True.
So
Still
there's
working
room.
on that.
Plenty of people with drinking problems.
There's plenty
Hobbies.
of home brewers that want to.
Exactly.
I always find this
Cool.
area interesting. You can go to Portsmouth, you can go and hit 5 or 6 breweries within a 15-mile radius and enjoy all of them, and each brewery has a different offering.
Yeah.
So really cool area for our listeners who have not been out this way. Don't overlook the seacoast of New Hampshire because
A lot of great breweries.
a lot of
there.
great breweries. And it's honestly, in my opinion, worth a stop overnight if you're on your way to Portland or anything,
Yeah,
or vice versa,
Yep.
on your way back, because you're going to get some really, really great beers in this area. And make sure to stop at Stoneface for one of your stops.
Yeah. Where exactly are you located for those people who want to stop by?
So it's 436 Shattuck Way in Newington, right in between Portsmouth and Dover on 16. So really easy to get to right off the highway.
Yeah, it was actually really easy to get to.
Super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And social media. Where are you guys located on social media?
So we got a Facebook page, we got
Ooh.
we got Twitter, we got
What?
Insta, we got the Insta. I think we have MySpace.
Oh, that's our joke.
Damn. Stole it.
Twitter's on the way.
Twitter.
It's up and coming.
Yeah, so you can Google it and find our social media presence. We got
At
stuff up there,
Stoneface everywhere.
I think so. I don't know what all the
Stoneface Brewing.
off the top of my head. I don't know what all
Stoneface beers.
all of them are, but
I think it's just Stoneface Brewing.
Yeah.
I think,
Cool.
on Instagram.
We'll go with that. That
Yeah.
sounds really good.
Sounds,
Yeah.
sounds right. Feels right.
Yeah.
You'll find it. At Stoneface Brewing.
there you go.
Just
Great
so
job,
everyone
man.
wanted to know.
Great job.
I just looked it up. It's fine.
Technology. Wow.
But yeah, thank you for doing this. And before we go, we have one more question.
The last question. Dun, dun, dun. All right. We always like to end our episodes with what are you most proud of?
Long dramatic pause.
I know, right? I like
Ryan usually puts like Oscar music.
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly.
violin, you know?
That's how they have an answer match, fancy Oscar music.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, everything. I mean, like, I think we're all so proud of everything we do here. You know, we definitely don't put out anything we're not proud of. I think that's, you know, why I like to still work here. You know, there's an emphasis on quality that we all kind of agree on, and it's not always the easiest thing to come to terms on dumping a beer. But, you know, for me personally, it's probably all the sour beers that we've done that are continually going to get better and have gotten better. But those are my babies, so
Yeah, that's
I'm
right
biased.
up there. That's right up there.
Cool.
I mean, I use the cliche is, I'm really proud of my team and how great they've grown and been amazing over the past 7 years, which is absolutely true.
Thanks, Dad.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the beer quality is what I'm most proud of. The fact that we've been able to do this for so long. When we were, 7 years ago, if you told me this is where we'd be, I would have said, you're out of your mind. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it's kind of taken on a life of its own, which is really driven by the folks that work here, not necessarily the founders or the, quote unquote decision makers, but the people that are here when it's 90 degrees outside and it's 100 degrees on the brew deck. When those guys are grinding, it's pretty awesome. The fact that they are able to do it sustainably and with the high quality that they do is probably the thing I'm most proud of. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Pete and Dan, thank you so much for doing this today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Got you out of the brew house for a little while.
Yeah.
Into the AC.
Actually came in early for this. Happy to do it, though.
Thank you. So thank you, and I can't wait to enjoy your beer this summer.
Right.
Yeah,
It's soft.
definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Well, we here at Brew Roots know that Ryan hates the outros.
Indeed.
So
we
10
say
out of
that
10.
literally every week.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 don't recommend.
So, along with going to try to get 50 breweries in 50 states, which conveniently is our guest next week. We'll get to that. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
We're trying to get Ryan to like the outros,
Yeah.
which is going to be way harder than him liking pastry or stouts.
Yeah.
And probably like anything else other that's not like a hazy IPA or a Pilsner or lager at these points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to try.
Yeah.
Go you.
So who's our guest next week?
Craig from Short Fuse Brewing.
That's right.
All the way out in Illinois.
That's right. I enjoyed
On
this
the
episode.
park.
On a park. Schiller Park, to be exact. Which, if you listen to our intro next week, I'm sure we'll talk about a time that Ryan did pull-ups at a park.
Hell yeah.
You'll want to hear this.
You're
Once
definitely going to
upon a
want to hear
time.
it. Spoiler alert, he was fucking jacked.
Oh yeah.
Well, until next week.
Cheers.